it's small talk is basically a gateway to bigger talk.
Yeah.
I think we kind of keep it on the surface level until we feel comfortable and free enough to share.
Blizzard of 2026.
We made it.
Snowmageddon.
Snowmageddon.
Yep.
Well, last week they were like, it's coming, boys. And everybody ran to the store and they got their bread, they got their milk, and they were ready for it. And then it was kind of a little lackluster, I guess you could say. And then this week, I don't feel like it was as hyped up, and it came a snow.
I want a financial report from the local news stations, the weather channels. I want to see if any of these grocery stores made a deposit, a donation for that proclamation of weather we had. They probably got every out of date item or close to out of date item off the shelf.
That bread goes bad in 2 days. I don't care. I want it.
Yeah. They made penicillin out of bread mold. I'll take it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we got outside and we were out there about 10 minutes, and the girls had enough of that. But we got out there, and I was talking to Georgia and Maggie and Heidi for a second, and Bella walked out. She got a perfect snowball and hit me right in the eye.
Yeah.
Boom. And it kind of caught me off guard. Didn't know it happened at first. I was like, Bella, little jerk.
Did y'all just play at your house?
Yeah, just a little bit. We didn't even go sledding or anything. Maybe we'll find somewhere to go tomorrow, but
I don't know where you can go.
I have no idea where there's a hill.
I heard you guys had some fun out here, though.
Oh yeah,
man. We
got the 4-wheel drive. I'm witty today.
Did you guys pull that 4-wheeler out and do some donuts connected to like a trash can lid?
We used my truck.
Oh, okay.
we used the swimming pool for about a couple hours and used the inner tube for the rest of it.
Yeah, the inner tube was better.
Yeah, inner tube was better.
I kept getting, it was so cold, the eyes, getting that snow in your eyes and the ice, and felt like my forehead was on fire.
Oh, yeah, I guarantee it.
I got a video text of a little guy in our church. He went, I don't think his parents care if I say his name, but I won't for the sake of it. But he was coming down, he hit a ramp, and he flipped 3 times.
Oh, man.
But he nailed it, though. I mean, it was like literally he flipped it a couple times, held on, stuck the landing. It was
wow.
a cool shot. I'll show you after the podcast.
Yeah,
awesome.
It's pretty
That's
fun.
crazy. No, it's been fun. I
Actually got Blake on the sled. I pulled him around a little bit.
Oh, yeah?
I wasn't going to do it. I had more fun pulling everybody than after everybody win. I was like, all right.
You're like the uncle on the boat that pulls everyone in the summertime. And then
Well, that's my way of playing in the snow. I'd rather get out there and drive around than sleigh ride or anything.
Yeah, it's too much work, man. Climb top that hill.
I walked up that hill twice, and after it, I was like, all right, boys, I get to the bottom, I'm getting in the truck. I drove the truck up to the top of the hill.
That's adult sledding.
Yeah. The truck slid down the hill. Does that count for sledding?
That's an expensive sled.
It is. It's a very expensive sled. But, yeah.
Did you do anything, Tim, for the snow, or just kind of stay warm? Or?
Stayed warm, watched the snow.
There you go. It was fun watching it come in, man. Some big flakes. At first, we had to actually a fitting for tonight's conversations here in a little bit, but we had to take one of our church members over to the hospital there in Elizabeth, and when we got over there, it just started coming down pretty heavily at Sycamore Shoals, but it wasn't sticking to the roads quite yet. And man, by the time I made it back home, it was snowing, and then that might be one of the just pure snow inch-wise that it's been since I've lived up here in 10 or 11 years. I don't ever remember getting solid 10 inches.
I think this is the most we've had, isn't it?
But
Most since 2018, I believe.
Okay. We had a big snow then?
Yeah.
yeah,
I can't remember.
Still where I was living at the time, I would have been living in Bristol, I think, or so at the time. But I didn't remember one that was over 9 or 10 inches roughly. But when, the backyard fence for our dogs, I mean, the snow was up near the gate, the lever for the gate. Yeah. I mean, it was up there.
We had at least a foot here.
Yeah.
I had Breland look up the blizzard of 93, and it was 12 to 54 inches.
Wow.
I mean, that was when my parents was in their 20s.
Yeah.
that's when Tim was in his 20s, and I wasn't alive, so I can't remember it, but I heard it's pretty wild.
I remember it.
Making tunnels and
Everybody talks about that was the apocalypse. They'd rather Jesus come back than that dang snow come, huh?
Yeah, you hear a lot about that blizzard in '93. A lot of people talk about it.
Everybody compares to that. You ain't ready for me today. I'm in a crazy mood. Oh. Well, we starting?
Let's get into it.
Welcome back to the Bearded Brothers podcast, where the beards are real and the conversations are even realer. I'm excited to bring you on tonight in the middle of a blizzard, snowmageddon, we're calling it. We have a special guest, Tim Honeycutt. We're going to talk about surface level conversations. This should be a good one. So let's kick it off. Tim, you want to share a little bit about yourself if I don't start stumbling over my words?
Well, I might stumble over mine. So, Tim Honeycutt, born and raised here in Johnson City. Graphic designer by trade. Find myself working with Ian here in a plumbing company. I don't know how that works, but not a plumber, but looking forward to conversation.
Sweet. So, how'd you get into the graphic design stuff? Where'd you land into that from?
By default. My dad's a sign painter and artist, and he always said, "Get away from here, boy, before you learn something. Or before you learn something, you'll always regret."
Yeah,
I wasn't smart enough to run, but I've enjoyed it.
So you're naturally interested in it.
Yes.
Was it because of the job, or did you just look up to your dad and want to do it?
Looked up to my dad.
Yeah.
But also I'd started off thinking I was going to do construction. Well, I was going to be a scientist, and I was going to be a truck driver, and but I thought I was going the construction route.
Yeah.
And I realized, you're always out in the element. So I thought sign shop sounds a little bit better.
Yeah.
So I turned my hammer in for a brush, and a lot happier after that.
Cool.
you got some good work, man. I really enjoy looking at it. And you got some local stuff that very well known that you see it you've done. I find out usually when we pass it or something.
Yeah, it's kind of neat to have it's like having a little piece of you spread around a little bit.
You ever see him and you're like, oh yeah, I did do that one, didn't I?
Sometimes I'm like, I wonder if I could redo that one. I don't tell.
Do a sales pitch. See if like, hey, you ever interested in updating that?
Well, it's kind of like a photographer. The difference between a photographer and a flunky. You know what the difference is?
No.
Volume and only showing your good ones.
Mm.
So sometimes I may not say that I did.
You're like, oh yeah, I remember that.
That was a rough one.
I think everybody has something like that in whatever trade they're in. I mean, there's sometimes I've had to make some repairs that I'm like, man, I ain't posting that one.
Yeah.
But it just is what it is.
Yeah.
When you're out there, when you're being put on the spot too, like, especially I'd say for you, if a client is asking for something that is just not in your style at all to generate, because I mean, from what I've seen, everybody kind of has their own touch. I mean, you look at famous painters and all, they all kind of have their own way of doing something. So probably similar thing in digital art or graphic art.
Yeah, sometimes I have to get into my feminine side or my masculine side or it's a fun challenge.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you like it. That's
I think
a big thing.
I think it's kind of neat, talking about this, being a graphic designer, you kind of have to try to get into the mind of the person that's going to be viewing it or your client or whatever. And since I'm not doing quite as much design work now, I kind of find that it's fun to get into people's mind conversationally. So it is kind of an interesting topic to me.
I didn't even think about it from that perspective. I mean, how do you know what the person wants if you don't even search their heart for the outcome design?
I mean, you got to sit down and talk with them and, figure out what they like and see if you can put it on paper or in a software or whatever.
Well, sometimes you can hit it on the first time. Sometimes it's the 41st time. So sometimes I'm a slow learner.
So you're reading their body language, their attitude, their preferences, and you're basing your colors and shapes and
Yes.
Where you'll take a design that they already have, and I kind of like this one. If you could just make this one better, then you'll keep the, whatever's in that image, and then just kind of make it
theme.
The X and the Y and change the Z.
Yeah.
My favorite's when you show them the work, they're like, "That's exactly what I wanted." It's like, this is nothing like what you asked for, But okay.
Look, so here's what you was describing. Here's what I think would look better, and you pitched two.
Yes.
So let's talk about that for just a second. Since you began the graphic design and stuff, and now, do you think it's gotten better in as far as logos, billboards? Do you think it's better now, or do you think it used to look better before? Let's go 30 years.
It's definitely gotten more streamlined, and we were talking about the pizza boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes rebranding goes well. Sometimes, like Cracker Barrel, it doesn't go so well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed doing the rebranding because you're able to pull in the history and the heritage of what they had, kind of update it and bring it up a little bit. If you think about it, the Coca-Cola logo or the Pepsi logo here has gone through different tweaks, but it still kept the same flavor and design. But one graphic design company or ad agency would change put sharp points on it and then smooth points. And
I mean, I'm sitting here looking at what would that be, a 90s or 80s Pepsi bottle up here. Comparing to now, it looks
very similar.
Very similar.
Yeah.
Besides this Pepsi Cola what'd you call that? A banner?
Banner on the
back. A little banner on the back here, which is kind of mirroring that Jeff Gordon. Is that a Jeff Gordon Pepsi bottle?
Yeah.
Yep.
I love that design. That's probably my favorite Pepsi.
So
I liked that one too.
That's pretty neat.
It's like 2004.
But the Coca-Cola there, that looks the same.
Yeah.
I don't really know that. Oh, look, peep the API right there.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Did you put that up there?
Yeah.
Well, I kind of like the new version of the API.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a little biased comment there, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, we got the new and the old.
What's funny is I started to put the hat on that had the old logo. Is that one got it on it?
Yeah.
Let's see it.
That one's
Let's check out Tim's. Yeah.
That's the old one.
There's
Then
the old
there.
one. And then here's the new one. Yeah, the new one does look better.
That
Looks
old
more
one's
modern.
rode away for a long time.
Yep. Cool. So what would you say? Would you say that this logo's not surface level?
Well, so far it hadn't been.
So far,
I just maybe don't want to get very deep in it.
yeah. New font. Did you change the font, or was it the same font?
Well,
This is kind of boring for people probably
Yeah,
listening to this.
the,
I'm just curious.
the API was pretty much the same. I did flip the
Yeah, I remember that.
the inside part to make it look a little bit more like water drops.
Yeah, and to kind of, I remember you describing leading your eye.
Well, when it was the way that it was, it reminded me of Peter Criss and Kiss. That's what I saw. Don't know if anybody else saw that, but that's what I saw.
Okay. Well, what you got, Matt?
Well, I mean, so tonight we're the overall theme is sometimes we get into these conversations that seems like the person who we're talking to or pouring our heart to out to doesn't care. It's something that we all kind of experience on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. Oftentimes we're kind of trained to just be polite in a way. I don't know. Are you guys like introverts or extroverts? Because I think that kind of
Extrovert.
I think it has a little bit, like, I'll give you an example. Like, I'm pretty open with you guys because you're my friends. And to a certain extent, I'll be more open with you because you are my friends. But even in day-to-day life, there are times where I was like extremely short with people, or, I was too busy. Like, for example, I'll just give you when I first moved here from Florida, If I went to like Taco Bell, like when Heidi, I'll just say Heidi and I, while we were dating or while we first got our first year of marriage or so, when we'd go through a drive-through or something, you know, everyone here is so polite and well-mannered and so kind to even ask, like when you go to pals, like, hey, how's your day going? And, you know, you're like, nah, it's fine, you know, and then kind of in a hurry to, you know, because we live in a fast world. Oftentimes people would say, have a good day. And I'd be like, thanks. And I'd grab my stuff and I'd leave.
Yeah.
I didn't really think nothing of it. And Heidi was like, why don't you ever tell people, have a good day back?
Yeah.
Or why don't you ever stop when someone asks, hey, how's your day going? Why don't you reply like, oh, mine's going good, or mine's not going good. Well, how's your day going? And so I think when you look at like life, it can be so quick to, you know, just try to get, you're in this hustle and you're in this bustle and you don't slow down to actually hear someone's heart. Like you said it a minute ago, like you don't give yourself that opportunity to examine someone's heart and see, where they're at.
And you'll be talking to them and then they just seem like they ain't listening or they don't care. And you're just like, well,
Yeah.
forget it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Then they try to come back to you and you're like, don't worry about it. It don't matter.
Yeah. I mean, typically I'm an introvert's worst nightmare because I can talk to anybody. I mean, I wasn't always like that, but after I got saved, it was just like, I don't know what happened, but it's like, I can talk to anybody, talk in front of anybody, you know, 10 people, 10,000 people, it doesn't make a difference to me. But, I do read body language in that, and I can tell like whether someone's shy or introverted, and then whether somebody just does not care, like absolutely don't talk to me. And, you know, that's kind of a struggle. I mean, you're talking about getting to somebody's heart, really trying to be there for them, support them, or, you know, let them see the light of Christ in the day. That can be tough to know when is going to be too far, especially if it's an introverted person, you know. When is it too far? When are you pressing in too hard, you know?
And some people can act like they don't care, but they really listen to what you say, and then they're kind of shy to you know,
to respond or to
respond.
engage.
They don't want to. It's like a pride thing, you know.
Yeah. Well, and that's a big problem is that, you know, there's people that that believe in God or whatever. We're just kind of on this topic, who are maybe ashamed that they don't know as much as someone. I mean, I can't tell you how many people that are 70 years old I've talked to, you know, and you start talking about the Lord a little bit with them, and they're like, I'll be honest with you, I'm not happy with my knowledge, and I'm having a real hard time. So it's like, knowing to kind of dial it back. Believe it or not, we're guilty of stereotyping. I'm guilty of having done that. You know, walk up to somebody at 75 years old just because they're a Christian, you think they've read their Bible 3 times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're talking about stuff like you say the word propitiation, and they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. You know what I mean? So it goes both ways. Not being too overbearing, but also, I guess, being able to read the room.
Yeah.
Well, it also depends on what room you're in.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to carry on a in-depth conversation at Taco Bell when
Well,
you
yeah.
got somebody standing behind you.
True. True.
You know, it's small talk is basically a gateway to bigger talk.
Yeah.
I think we kind of keep it on the surface level until we feel comfortable and free enough to share, or to have a willing recipient. You know, as I get older, I feel like I'm transitioning more towards a listener than I am a talker.
Yeah.
I was thinking about, you know, communication, or a communicator basically is trying to convey information to the other person. And a listener, you know, listens to engage and to receive and that sort of thing. So I think it's kind of important to be inquisitive, and if I was talking about propitiation,
Yeah.
Can't hardly say that word. Right off the bat, you'd be like, so you got to kind of warm into it,
Mm-hmm.
and depends on where you're at, and the environment.
It's true. It's true. A buddy of mine, he actually just got married because he went through a checkout line. I'm not going to give a lot of detail here. Went through a checkout line several times, talked to this person, small talk about the Lord and stuff, which this person was saved and stuff like that. And long story short, 3 or 4 conversations turned into meeting their best friend, and he married their best friend, you know.
How long has that been?
It's not been long.
Well, I start saying must have been before COVID, because now
Oh no, it's been like,
everything's self checkout.
I mean, it's been the last few months.
Hmm.
And to be fair, it was a box store that doesn't have many self checkouts.
Okay.
Yeah, no, they didn't marry a robot, so no. But I mean, you just don't really know what the small talk. But don't force small talk either.
No.
I mean, you need to be diligent. You need to be what's the word?
Persistent.
Well, that too, but it's like when you're being authentic in whatever you're approaching with, not just
genuine.
Yeah, genuine. There it is. Don't just make up stuff to talk. Well, I don't know.
I guess it kind of depends on the intent of the conversation. If you're just engaging, or if you're trying to share Christ, kind of makes a little bit of a difference.
Mm-hmm.
I think about from what I remember of Spanish, their sentence structure is a little bit backwards. It's almost like to the store I go, or like Yoda.
Yeah.
It starts at the end and comes back to the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And I think based on what your intent is with the conversation, you start kind of at the end and work your way back, asking questions, engaging. I think that helps soften the person up.
So, I mean, how can we be better? In all honesty, because surface level conversation is not just in public. It can also be with your spouse, your significant other,
Just quick to listen,
your
slow to
best
speak.
friends. You're just listening for a response, whether it's arguing, whether it's their day at work, their problems in their family, their dreams, ambitions. We're just like, yeah, that'd be cool. We're not even like opening our heart up to hear what they have to say, hear their desires, their passions. I mean, that's a silent killer too. I mean, it ain't just stress, it's a silent killer. Surface level conversations with your friends and significant others, family members. Like, well, I ain't going to tell him nothing. He don't care.
Well, also, I think we when we do listen, we listen with the intent to respond.
Yeah.
And not, it's like people that talk a lot, or I used to say that, people talk a lot. The problem with that is it interrupts me talking a lot.
Yeah.
So keeps me from talking a lot.
Yeah.
But, relationships.
Well, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Been reading this book this week, When Hurting People Come to Church. That's the name of the book, When Hurting People Come to Church. And Tim, you made a point that as you kind of grow and mature, you've become more of a listener. And really, that's what the church needs is more listeners. When you think about the overall idea of how we treat one another, you mentioned we're to be genuine, but in our genuineness, are we called to treat our brothers the same as we treat the rest of the world? Or do we, I would think yes, to a certain extent. So for example, I would think, the rest of the world we always love, and we're loving in actions by the things we do. But when it comes to your brother or your sister in Christ, that's where the connection and the intimacy should grow more and more. You're caring about a loved one, not just someone who you love or care for, right? So like we have a general care for everyone, right? Like the story of the Good Samaritan, where the priests or whatnot, or they're walking by and they're just they don't care. They don't care enough to stop and to do the work that the Lord desires for them to do to help this person. And it's a person from Samaria, from Samaria who comes in and actually cared enough to stop and to help. And this Church Cares program, which is what this book is it's a book to help your church start a cares ministry, like a mental health cares ministry, because the statistics, a lot of people don't even think there's a problem there. I'll share a little a snippet here from the book here. Let me pull it up real fast, but so this is like how the general church sees the mental health pandemic around the world. Our church has an effective process in place. We're doing a good job of addressing the mental health needs of our people. Now, only 39% of churches agree with that statement. 5% strongly disagree, 24% disagree, 27% agree, and only 5% strongly agree. And there are a lot of people who come in with some really complex things. They need someone that's professional, like a counselor or a pastor, someone who can take that information and help tangibly. But then sometimes there are people, and the book breaks this down with triangles. If you look at the bottom of the triangle, there's people with, they have a need. They have a lot on their plate. They're like a mother-in-law, my mother-in-law's killing me, in this season of my life. That person just needs someone to listen.
Yeah.
Like a Tim. That person needs someone not necessarily qualified to do anything. They just need someone that says, hey, I got 15 minutes. I got 30 minutes. I'll give you a whole hour. I'm just going to listen to you, pour your heart out. And then, of course, you have the people in the middle of the triangle who are, they're struggling, but they're functioning.
Yeah.
So they're functioning through their struggle. They're carrying it well. They might be open with you or someone else. Hey, I'm struggling here, but they're doing it well. But then you have the very top of the triangle, and those are the people that really need the most critical. I mean, these are the people who their marriage is in crisis. They've had a child that's died. People that have been sexually assaulted, people that have went through abortions, people who are struggling with their identity, and gets into the LGBTQ stuff where people who want to have a sex change, and what I like about this book is it talks about how we need more lay listeners. We need people like Tim who have, walked through life and have said, hey, I'm pretty good at listening. And then we need people who are a little bit more qualified in that middle. And then the problem is the counselors. It's a massive shortage. And as a matter of fact, it said that there would have to be like 1.3 million new counselors.
Wow.
To come up with the deficit of mental health need in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And being that it's so overwhelming, that's why there's an importance of breaking it into a couple of different tiers. And sometimes what it's come to find out through a bunch of research and a bunch of statistics is people need people who care enough to just sit down and listen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the importance, a big thing of that is a church. You're talking about a church that has people in it that are actively communicating with one another, not just popping in, popping out. People that are engaged in each other's lives, people that are support groups. I mean, I love that ECC has a widows group to where, those people who have been hurt in life, and they have a group of people that they can come together and
Mm-hmm.
do. And, in the same way as simple as if you're just a friend, stop talking, just hear what somebody has to say for a little while.
Yeah.
It's a bad habit. And I think we've all been guilty at some point of listening to respond and not listening to hear what someone's actually saying or feeling. And especially if you're being intentional about it, you can hear, it's going to sound wild, but you can hear more than what's being said. The way somebody's body language is, what they're saying, you can kind of determine that maybe there's something deeper going on underlying in what they're saying. So
I was thinking today that we speak before we ever say any words. When we get up in the morning, we choose our clothes. You know, the bumper sticker on the back of our car, the type of car that we drive. It all is geared to say something about us. The color of our hair, the style of our hair, or
Say
lack thereof,
the beard.
or the beard. You know, we all have a need to be seen and to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
Some people seem to be crying out a little bit more than others at times, and that, you know, that's kind of when I think the most opportunity is there, or the challenge to try to go deeper.
Sometimes it's like we are afraid to. The book also talks about how we're sometimes afraid that we'll make something worse.
Yeah.
Potentially, by, you know, when someone's pouring their heart out to us, like, you know, sometimes we're timid that, man, I'm going to say something that's just going to make this worse.
Yeah. Make them feel worse about it.
Yeah. But I think sometimes when you look at life, it is very messy, and it's good to, you know, if someone that you love and care about, whether it's your close friend or someone in your church, is going through a season, you need to be able to identify and talk with that person more and more. And sometimes you're gonna ask someone at first, you know, like, how are you, or you know, and they're gonna just be like, I'm good, man, or whatnot. And
Yeah.
you know, you said something earlier that makes sense. Like, you have to know when to press and when not to press, but there are times when we need to press, because you never know what someone is really going, you know, it's conflicting their soul.
I heard a thing recently where they were talking about that, you know, if you ask somebody, how's your day going, you're going to get a kind of a flat answer. You know, we ask closed-ended questions. That if you convert that to something like, you look like you're having a really good day, or you look like you're having a bad day, then the person will usually either correct you or confirm and expound upon that.
That's a good way
So
to put it.
I try to. That's kind of what I was talking about with the end in mind. You know, intent, I guess, more.
Mm-hmm.
I like to listen to Chris Voss, I believe, with Swan Group, Interrogator, and Chase Hughes. I don't read their books or whatever, but it's pretty interesting. Interesting way of learning to communicate and to get someone to open up and share with you a little bit more. Which it all depends on the intent. I'm not looking to interrogate somebody.
Sure.
Just to engage. So
We'll make them feel seen.
yeah.
You know, especially if they're in their workplace. I mean, how many people feel like an employee number, you know, a name on a schedule, just another payroll employee, you know, checking the box. People don't feel seen, you know. So it's good to have somebody come along and give them attention, not just a baseline.
Maybe that's all the conversation they get in the day, you know.
Yeah.
Not everybody has somebody to go home and talk to, or family members they really trust, you know, like, or, you know, you may talk to somebody that used to talk to their mom every day, and their mom's just passed away, and, you know, they don't have nobody they can really, like, open up to.
Well, you know, I think that we'd all like to be Billy Graham and think that we've reached millions.
Sure.
But I like to think about it as though my life could be as simple as making one contact or one positive comment or help, and that would be worthwhile, I believe. I think, you know, when you were talking about that we're afraid we're going to mess it up, you know, and in those levels, it takes different people. You need to have the ones that start the conversation, and then have the ability to pass that on to the next person and to the next person,
Right.
where they can find help.
Yeah.
If they're willing to accept the help.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, having, it's very important to have that plan in place of when hey, I need to send this person on to better help than what I can do, to refer them on to something greater.
Well, it's like Scott Phillips said. He said, the body of Christ is itself. Remember, he was talking about when you're evangelizing to people and you sow a seed, you can't expect to be the person that carries that person through every step in their walk with Christ or
Right.
whatever it be they're going through.
Right.
There's a reason there's people assigned to different tasks, different gifts, different talents. And so in the same way, you think about a seed in the soil, the planter digs the hole, puts the seed in, then the seed's got to get water from the rain. Eventually it's got to get light from the sun. It's got to get nutrients from the soil. Like the person who put it in the ground ain't doing all the work. It's getting what it needs from other places. In the same way, whether you're encouraging someone who's having a hard time or, whatever it be, you can't expect to be the person that's going to do all of whatever their needs are, meet all their needs, but you can definitely be a big part in it.
Well, you can also kind of defeat yourself or get discouraged.
Yeah.
Had a pastor tell me one time that you needed people that were freshly in their walk of life, Christian life. Then you need people that are kind of even with you, and then you need the people that are far ahead of you.
Sure.
Because otherwise, if you always associate with those that are below, you don't grow.
Right.
If you always stay with the ones that are kind of the same level, you don't grow. But if you always aspire to or look to the people that are so far ahead of you,
You don't realize where you are.
well, you don't realize where you are, but you feel discouraged.
Yeah.
So it takes that good balance in just your own relationship too.
Yeah.
I like that.
And as you think about that pyramid, as you listen and grow yourself, then you're able to move up that pyramid as well, because you're growing at the same time.
It's true. Yeah.
Were you telling me, Tim, how to remember names? Was you the one that tell me how to do that?
Oh yeah,
Remembering how to remember
well,
somebody's first name when you're talking to them in a conversation is pretty good. I may not have been you, may have been somebody else, but
yeah. You look at their forehead and write out their name on their forehead.
Okay.
So you've got a visual. I wouldn't try that with a Sharpie or something, but
No, I'll never
I have a
forget
bad
it.
habit myself. I have a bad habit of just, I'll meet somebody and they'll tell me their name, and I'll tell them mine, and I'll just totally forget their name.
Yeah.
And I gotta be like, "What's your name again?" And that's just, it's kind of rude, like I wasn't listening.
well, it's super impactful when you can actually remember somebody's name
They feel seen.
or something that they've mentioned, or I'm sure that the guy that ended up getting married, he remembered the conversation and
Of course.
progressed that conversation along. So it's very impressive if somebody remembers something, even a small detail about you.
Yeah. I don't know how I do it. I think usually they tell me a name and I think of somebody I know with that same name and I try to hold on to that, but
I can do that with people but if it's some random,
it's hard.
I'm like, whoa.
I struggle with that too.
It's easy if their name is Tim. I can usually remember that.
Tim's not too bad.
I don't think I've met too many Blakes. Only a handful.
Balake.
Balake.
I know.
Okay.
I've met more Tims and Matts than I have Blakes. My name ain't very common.
No, I've only known a couple Ians.
I can only think of like two off the top of my head. Two other ones. Everybody thinks your name is
Yeah, everybody can say my name right.
Ian,
Or
or they'll spell it E-N.
E-A-N.
Yeah.
E-N.
Ian.
Like when I go to restaurants and stuff, I always say my last name. Name for the order, and I always say my last name. And then Sometimes
Clark with no E.
Clark with no E. That's the rich Clarks. But we went to Zaxby's, a couple of Sundays ago, and he asked me my name. It said Clark, and then I looked at the ticket and it said Bark. I'm like,
And these people want $15 an hour.
Just spell the name.
I just laughed when I read it. He's like, "Did you not say that?"
Oh,
and I'm like,
man.
"No." He's like, "I thought you did."
Thought you was goofing.
Order for Bark.
He should have just parked it. He just did that.
Yeah, you should have walked up to him like, "Go dogs." Oh man.
I don't think they ever. The problem I have with my last name is when I'm on the phone with like some, AT&T or whatever, and I say Huffine, and I say H-U. They say, how you spell it? Huffine, and they'll put SS, Hassan. They think when I say F, I'm saying S.
Your name gets mispronounced all the time.
Yeah, Huffin,
Hoofin.
Huffin. Yeah, but with the people that know how it's pronounced, they say, "Who's your papa? Who's your great grandfather?" Hey,
Who's your papa?
You know my lineage. You got me figured
Any
out.
old person
They,
older than 60 years old that's lived here. Yeah, if they hear your last name, like, "Oh yeah, I know exactly who you are. He
Who's
used to
that
work
guy
on my cows."
Yeah, he used to come doctor my cow. Now,
He
who's
had
the guy
that cow in the back of his truck.
Who's the guy that got killed on the light pole? Who's the guy? It's like, yeah, here we go. The same. I'm just gonna start carrying a newspaper article around.
And your daddy's Brian.
Yeah, every time. Is Kippy your dad? Is Brian your dad? I'm like, Jason. They're like, who's Jason?
Oh yeah, I know him. I remember him now.
Yeah. Brian's more well known, seems like, than my dad is from most people. But it must be the community of people I'm around. I'm sure
Your dad, Brian's more of a country boy.
Yeah, and that's what I'm around is more people like that. I'm sure if
Your dad was more like,
if I go up in Johnson City and look at some business owners and stuff, I'm sure they know who my dad is.
yeah.
But anyway,
There used to be a local politician that he would go to funerals of people that he didn't know, sit in the back, sign the book, and leave.
My God.
Just so that he would. It's like, oh, so and so was at so and so's funeral. I didn't know they knew them.
We do sitting there on his days off, just sitting all the funerals.
Well, politicking.
I'll never forget. I'm gonna tell this story. My papa went to a funeral, and there was this old guy that come in there, and he was like, he's gonna watch this and crack up because I'm telling the story. This guy was like 98 years old or something, old guy, might be 91, something in that area. And he come in the funeral home. My grandfather was coming out, and he stopped and asked him. He said, "How old are you now?" He knew him. He said, "I'm 95 or whatever." And he said, "There ain't much use in you leaving then, is there?" Oh man!
Talking about a surface level conversation.
Yeah, literally. There ain't much use in you leaving here.
I was about 6 foot deep.
Yeah. Our guys get together for some guys in our church get together for biscuit and gravy at 6:45.
It's fun. I like it.
Yeah, I like
do.
it. But that
Haven't
is
done
a
it in a
good
while.
opportunity where, for people who are listening, it's those kind of moments and those kind of groups where you get further away from surface level conversations and start learning
Small
about
group.
people, small group and your men's ministry, and like our women at the church are getting ready to kick off a new study here soon. And that's where you want to be involved in the church, in the community, like the community that the church offers. And, the church should be a place where people care. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's not, sometimes it's not. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm just as guilty of anyone of it sometimes,
We're all
how you made a comment, Tim, a few minutes ago about how, sometimes it's how we approach the way we ask a question. And, man, there's been times in my life where I knew specifically if I asked this person how their day is going,
they're going to tell you.
they're going to tell me. And so it works the other way too. If you want to avoid that, you can just say, "Hey man, good to see you." You don't have to say, "How are you doing?" or "What's up?" Just be like, "Hey, good to see you."
Yeah.
Pat up,
I know a couple.
do
of
the
them.
3 pat and keep walking, or-
Yeah, I know a couple of them.
but those are usually the people that we really need to be more intentional with talking to and hearing their hearts, and those are the ones. Again, it's like, oh boy, here we go. If you ask, it's a here we go situation.
Yeah.
Get your legal pad out, get
It's
a
kinda
nice
like
pen.
what you was describing. Max Lucado said when he when people ask him what he does for a living.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's the same way. If he's up for a conversation, he says he's an author, and if not, if he's wanting to. If he's not wanting to talk, he tells people he's a pastor, so, like on an airplane. So he says that's the quickest way to make to kill a conversation is to let someone know you're a pastor.
It does work,
especially at the barber. I've noticed that. The first, like, I'll have a new barber, and I'll go in and be like, "What's up, man?" And we'll be talking about, yeah, this blankety blank, and then about 25, 30 minutes later, so what do you do, dude? And I'm like, oh, I'm actually a pastor. Then silence.
all you hear is the clippers and the hair scissors.
Yeah. I'm usually real cool to those guys though when they start apologizing. I'm like, dude, I ain't no saint. Quit apologizing to me. I mean, it's like I'm not the person to apologize to.
Yeah.
But,
well, you wouldn't be unfairly scrutinized against if you don't communicate very well.
It's true.
It's like the pastor didn't even speak to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tell you what, I used to go to Great Clips before I go where I go now, and this guy was cutting my hair, and he's indifferent lifestyle. We'll just say that, and we was just chatting, and then he's like, "So what do you do?" And this has actually been a while because I was doing full-time ministry at the time, and I told him I was pastoring a church, and he was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry for what I've been saying," and it was silent for about 3 minutes, and then next thing you know, he's just like, "So let's just talk about something." He come around. He wanted to debate on aliens and stuff. Isn't that crazy? And I was like, man, I have no idea. I'm like, I have, what are you talking about? And he's like, wanting to talk about like actual, and I was like, So I just kind of explained what I believed, and he was more open to talk then, but there was a good minute where he was just like, didn't know what to do. And it's kind of unfair if you think about it. I mean,
Did you tell him that you were an alien?
I should
You wasn't
have.
from this world?
Yep. I'm of another kingdom, boys.
This world is not my home.
I'm an ambassador.
Just a passing through.
Kingdom of heaven. Nah, man. It's wild how that works. And we're all guilty of that. I can think of 3 people right off the top of my head that if I cross paths with them in a grocery store, I probably wouldn't want to. I mean, we all, like, I'd be a liar to say that. Oh, I talk to everybody, I'd be a liar to say that. There's people that I'm just, still yet now I'm not interested in talking to, but you got to be like Christ. You got to be like the Good Samaritan. You know, you walk by somebody that wants that, especially if you feel that tug by the Holy Spirit to engage and you disobey, you quench the Spirit. Like, you're not doing it right, not doing it right. But it's overcoming the flesh. That's a big part of it.
Yeah, pride.
Pride
will eat you up. Papa used to say pride will kill you.
Yeah.
That's one of his favorite things to say to you.
Comes before the fall.
Yep. And pride looks like a lot of things. There's something I've learned, and this is kind of off topic, maybe not, but there's people that have pride in their humility. Now, doesn't that sound crazy?
Yeah.
Like they're so proud of how humble they are, and it just counteracts itself. It just contradicts itself.
There's no one more humble.
That's a pretty good one. That's a pretty good one. Yeah. It's the truth, though.
Well, it's hard to be crazy and know it. If you're actually crazy, you don't know that you're
That's
crazy.
true. It's true.
So,
Well, Tim, do you have any other thoughts that you haven't covered yet on this? If you haven't, if you have covered everything, that's all right. Just want to give you plenty of time to share any thoughts that you have.
oh boy, I was thinking that when I used to help with the youth group at Grace Fellowship just down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Their youth group. I don't know how your youth group and things are structured, but we would do. It's a pretty large youth group, so they worked in T-shirts and things into the budget, which I happen to print T-shirts. So, but we, thinking about when I was talking about we start speaking before we speak, just by what we wear, how we present ourselves. We would actually do. The group is called Riot. which is not, very churchy.
Right.
And so we would do T-shirts and things that would cause people to be inquisitive and give the students opportunities when somebody asked or said something about their shirt.
Yeah.
So, and it wasn't something about, beating you over the head with it. It was a good way of enticing other people to comment and engage in those comments or conversations.
Was RIOT like an acronym for anything?
I don't remember. I don't believe so. It's just get together and have a riot.
That's cool.
And
Yeah, it's like Jerry's Jesus Fish or the Little Jesus, or a lot of those can be, or a shirt that says, like our church's theme this year is commitment, and we got commitment shirts, and the bigger idea was that I originally had was that everyone, anyone that could order that shirt, and it's just a black shirt that says commitment in white, and when people ask about it, don't have anything about the church on there or nothing else, then someone says, well, what are you committed to? Then it's a talking point where you can say, well, I'm committed to Jesus, or committed to the church and the fellowship of the church. So can definitely be something that can open up doors and conversations. There might be someone that you talk to that you're like, well, we're trying to be more committed in our church, and they may not have a church, and they may be carrying a big weight, feel like no one in the world cares about them, and then they come to church and find Jesus and find that void that they've been missing.
Yeah.
So it can definitely be like a way of evangelism. It can be a way of sharing your faith and the good news.
I had two methods when I first was sharing my faith, which I probably should pick them back up, but I had two cards I'd hand out, just depending on what I was feeling. I had one that said, God has heard your prayers, and I'd pull that out. And the other one was one I actually had made myself, and it just says, He can use you. And that was a real good way of just sowing that seed. When you're talking about the Lord, a lot of people that I encountered, they felt like they were too far gone. They'd messed up too much. And so handing them that card, just as a reminder, they could, having a hard time, they could look at that and just think, wow, this says God can use me, like, no matter what. And things I have now is my grandmother makes those prayer quilts.
That's pretty cool, man.
It's got a thing on it, and it says, when you feel like I'm just paraphrasing, it says something like, when you feel like you're far from God, feel the quilt and find the cross. It's a little quilt, square. It's got foam in it, like some little polyester foam, and there's a little cross in it, and it has that prayer on it, so you can just sit there and you can feel that cross in there, and you just, a comfort thing. And that's a good thing to hand out too, is just like, not just a seed sown in conversation, but something you hand that person that they can, remember. And I'm not against the Jesus Love You pamphlets and stuff like that, to each their own, but I like giving them something that is like really just more personal, something they're not just going to toss out and say, well, I've got a bunch of these, something unique, That's just me. That's what I like to do.
I wonder if there's any statistics on the effectiveness of tracts. I'm sure there is, probably some.
Maybe. Not sure. I mean, I personally don't know of anybody that's gotten saved from a tract of any kind, but I'm not saying it's non-existent. It's always been by the coolest thing I ever had happen. I think I've shared this before, but when I worked at Ingalls and Jonesboro, a lot of times me and other employees or whatever, we'd be talking about the gospel, sharing different things, sharing my faith, or I wasn't supposed to, but I'd have worship music playing. Got in trouble for it several times, but people would stop in the aisle. They'd be, look like they're looking at something, and they just stop and listen, and there'd be 10, 12 people standing around an aisle. We talked about, the Lord. I'd, preach the gospel. And there was one guy that come in there. He was getting groceries for his family, and he had said he had stopped and listened for maybe 20 minutes. He come back the next week, stopped and listened for 20 minutes, and then he come to me the third time, and I wasn't even talking. I was actually working up front, and he come up to me and he said, he's like, what's your name? So I told him my name and everything. And he said, I've been coming here just to listen to y'all's conversations and what you're talking about. And he said, I've been contemplating on whether God was wanting me to get back into a church or not. He said, so I decided this Sunday I'm going to go to church. I was like, well, praise God, brother. That's awesome. Proud of you. Well, Sunday morning, he comes into the church I was going to.
Oh, wow.
And that's the church he used to go to years ago when it first had opened. And so he walked in and he was like just blown away. And he's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, this is where I go. He's like, man, now I know God's got me here. And so he brought his family back. And I think he found another church to go to. He didn't keep going there. But it was really cool just to see that seed sown from just being bold, sharing your faith, not having a surface level conversation. I mean, we were talking about deep things. I mean, started out talking about just how the blood of Christ atones. And then we got into talking about some stuff like the flood and, all those kind of different things, and people would ask questions. And so, anyway, it was just, having intentional conversations. That's one that I saw somebody, turn their life around. So, but we don't always see all of that. You know what I mean?
No.
That could have been just confirmation for me. Who's to say he could have never said anything? How many other people could have not said anything and went back to church, or, got on their knees that night, or
got convicted.
Yeah. Or maybe they got mad and said, forget all this Jesus stuff, and they didn't want anything to do with it. We don't really know. But we have to be intentional with everything we do. Anyway. Yeah.
Well, I guess we're probably getting close. I'm not exactly sure where we're at. Where are we at, Blake?
Right at an hour.
Right at an hour. Yeah. Well, I think that, we have opportunities every day to be more like Jesus. We have opportunities to show people that we care about them. And so I'd say that whether it's like you said, your wife or a brother in the church, don't live your life to the hustle and the bustle without slowing down and actually showing people that you care, that you're not just taking everything they tell you and it go in one ear and out the other, but rather that you care, that you're there for them, that you're praying for them, and even like we talked about in the first episode, pray with them.
Yeah.
In that actual moment, sometimes people, when they're going through a storm in life, they need someone to just really pray with them and take that request to God. And but yeah, man, Tim, thanks for taking the time and coming out and talking with us, and I hope you'll do that again in the future. And yeah, I guess anyone want to pray for us?
I can.
All right, go for it.
Let's go. Father, we thank you for our time together. We thank you for Tim and his wisdom and his life experiences and coming and sharing all that with us, not just us at the table, but everyone online. And Lord, we just pray that you be with us. That you be with everyone listening and watching. God, that you would just strengthen us and encourage us to where we can be more like you, Lord, and open our hearts and not be self-centered, but actually open our ears that you gave us and use them to hear not just what people are saying, but hear their hearts entirely in their body language, in their body, just everything about what they're saying and their voice, Lord. Help us be better listeners and be more effective with what we say, not just sentence fillers with our words, Lord, but effective, encouraging, and meaningful sentences, Lord. And so we thank you for your Son dying on the cross to forgive us, Lord. As always, we thank you for that. So we pray you be with us and all the listeners in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.